let's get this finished. I'm on to part 11. My mum had passed away, and she was buried in Strathy Beach beside my father. So they had a plot of land overlooking Strathy Beach. I came home. I got back to work at St Leonard's Hospital, and from 2010, when Mum passed away, till now, 2020, pretty much had very little contact with my sisters or my nieces. From about 2014, I don't know why, I just decided to stop contact with them on Facebook or anything, and I sort of blocked everyone. I just didn't feel they were interested in me or whatever. I don't know, maybe there were selfish reasons, or I'm not sure what those reasons are, but they live in a different world to me up north, and that was that. I'm gonna have to continue from where I left on. So Mum had passed away. I've come back home. Home is a confusing word, isn't it? Because I'm born in Thurso, Caithness, and that is home. But I've moved down to Dorset, which I now think of as home as well. So I feel like I've got two homes: my birth home and where I currently live home. I'm very fond of it down here. I'm very fond of Thurso, of Caithness. I'm very fond of Scotland. There's a lot of England. There's lots of places that I've been. Wonderful places. But after Mum died, 2010, I was working, and I got to near Christmas and realised I was drinking a lot. So this is 2010. I broke down one night, and I can't remember exactly how it happened, but just that I thought, I've got to do something. I cried, and I don't cry much, and I phoned the AA helpline. They put me in touch with an AA group in Ringwood. So I went to an AA group in Ringwood on a Wednesday evening, and I had to have a couple of ciders before I went in, and was fully welcomed, and I was blown away by the variation of people there, the normality of it all, the love in the room. It felt right, and from that day onwards, I was very involved with AA, going to a lot of meetings from here, from 2010, well into probably 2012. I was about 2.5 years sober. I should read here. After Mum died, I could not stop drinking. I was a mess. Managed to be sober with the help of AA. AA was a big wake-up call. I stopped contact with my family probably about 2014, I think. So yeah, 2010 to about 2013, I did 2.5 years sober. I started drinking again because I'd met someone who I was quite fond of, and he liked a pint, and I was going on his narrow boat in Exeter, and the canal boat there, and when we stopped, he liked a real ale, and I was at the point where I thought, look, bugger this, I want to be able to enjoy a real ale with this guy. And as any alcoholic or any problem drinker will tell you, when you have one, you won't stop. So I think for the first 2 weeks I managed to have one or two with him, and then it came back into full-blown alcoholism, which didn't ring too well with him, this chap, because he was married to an alcoholic, a female, and she knew he was gay, but he certainly didn't want another alcoholic in his life. So that was the end of that relationship. So yeah, about that time I said I'd stopped speaking to my sisters and my nieces. Throughout all this I was gambling. This part needs to be about gambling. I discovered online gambling. It went from pub fruit machines to online. I won over £2,000 one evening on William Hill, I think it was, and since then it's sort of just spiraled into a hazy addiction of borrowing, payday loans, using Phil's money. We had a PayPal account. One night I spent a lot of money, a shameful amount. And of course, once you start losing, you want to desperately claw it back. Just like the Edinburgh thing, where I went out and I gambled and tried to claw it back, and I ended up in jail because it's just nonsense. The malady is just craziness, you know, real craziness. And you think you're doing no harm to anyone but yourself, but of course you are. You know, everyone's affected. You know, my place of work, Phil, who's still putting me up, you know, crazily still putting up with me. I attempted very briefly to go to Gamblers Anonymous, didn't quite continue with that. It's very sort of obsessive compulsive disorder. Rarely I leave if I get a big win. Now, I mean, if I get a big enough win, I'll take it, but it'll go back. But it was a bit of a drug to me. I mean, they say gambling isn't an addiction, as in the class alcohol is an addiction, because you get physical withdrawal, mental withdrawal. You know, it's an addiction, and once you start again physically, you are back to where you sort of left off, and that's true in my experience. I'll get to that later, but as far as I'm concerned, the gambling is as strong as an addiction to me as alcohol. They're my two evil vices, you know, my two self-destructive vices. I think money's a very big part of people being happy, and I was always at that point of just not having enough to be comfortable, so the gambling was getting worse and worse. And I'm not a material person. I don't strive to have a posh car or a posh house. But gambling and alcohol were things that just numbed all the bad things that had happened to me and all the pain I felt. You know, when I have money, I'm very generous, and when I don't, I'm just a nightmare. So, with all this going on, of course, I'm back to working, and I'm at St Leonard's Hospital, this good job at the wheelchair service, and I had to leave that job. Another failure. This was going into 2014, yeah, and I had to take long-term time off there, and they had all these meetings with me, and we decided that I would have to resign with my sickness. So again, you know, depression, drinking, gambling, all these things that I'm doing have come to a halt again. So my job that I had next door, comfortable, I had managed to fuck up. So and I'd seen that as possibly a life job. I was going to, you know, get proper, work my way up there, I'd hoped. So throughout all that as well, I'd had many partners after mum dying 2010 to 2014, lots of different men all about, couple who were quite close, but never quite, for one reason or another, I'd either fall for someone who'd been married, or just the whole relationship partnership thing. Was it just me? Was I sort of pushing them away, or was just other little niggly things of just being with someone were just difficult? Relationships are difficult. But that the other thing, you know, I don't crave company 24/7, so I sort of again wanted it on my own terms, probably in a lot of ways. So leaving the wheelchair service, I was defeated. Did I hate myself this much? People observe me and see some confidence. A lot of people do, but I just see madness, insecurity, and anxiety. This is part of the notes that I wrote. So, as I write this, February 2020, if someone was to sit down with me for an hour, they would see my sheer madness. I don't want to go on the big fucking planet. I thought I wanted to see these days through, since having a breakdown. Again, another breakdown. That'll be my next topic. So after the hospital job finished, I helped to start off this burger joint, and that was going to be the next big thing. There was a burger joint again just down the road, another job I'd secured right on the doorstep. and the owners had big ideas, and there was a part of a gypsy thing there with them, not in the bad gypsy sense. They were generally okay, but there was a criminal element there, but they had good ideas and a solid love for this business venture to open an American style burger joint. And I helped them kickstart it, but I had to let them down after 4 months. They wanted me too much, and I told them when I started, look guys, I'll do it, but I can't be here, I can't be pushed too far, or I'll, they knew that, but they didn't know I drunk as much as I did. I was trying to curb it again, and that just didn't happen. So I moved from there, and then I moved into a lovely little job. This is my last job, and I moved to a care home called Five Gables, which was I was a part-time cook doing the breakfast and the lunch for residents with dementia or serious Alzheimer's, and it was a family-run thing. And my boss loved me and thought I was great, and I loved the job. I loved the residents. I loved the social aspect, and it got me up early. I was up at 6 in the morning, and I was finished at 2 o'clock, and I had 3 days off. So what I was doing there was actually working for like 3 days, 3.5 days, and spending the other 3.5 days of the week drunk as a skunk, just blown out. So that was getting to me. My hemorrhoids had started to come back on and off, so I was becoming again unreliable. So I was becoming unreliable at a care home as a cook where they need someone reliable. So I got to, throughout 2017, the hemorrhoids were appearing again. I loved this job, but I was getting so anxious and irritable. At Christmas was coming up, 2017, and I could feel I was on the verge of breaking. I had to resign. I agreed with the boss because she needed an answer. She said, Keith, you're all in or you're not, kind of thing. And I said, look, if I need to take more time off, which I was, then I'll just leave, because it's not fair on your residents, it's not fair on you. So I resigned, and that very weekend I resigned, I decided quite consciously I was going to drink myself to death. And that's what I started to do. December 2017, I hit it hard. I was 3-4 bottles of wine, a bottle of brandy every day. I just went nuts. I lost the plot. I wrote here, I went to hell, and part of me loved it. The alcohol malady is a strange one. You're dicing with this crazy shit. You're poisoning your mind and your body 24/7, and you're waking up in a drink. The real alcoholism part is you have to have a drink. I was the shakes were bad, the delirious thoughts as soon as you get up, it's just like a huge panic attack until you get more down and you just settle yourself with a few drinks. I grew a beard. I looked awful. I mean, I look at myself now, I think I look awful, but then I looked really bad, really, full on beard, just like a tramp. I made it through Christmas a complete mess, and I made it to January the 8th, 2018, my birthday, and I decided I was going to kill myself. Although that was the plan, but this was, I was going to do it properly. I was going to go into the forest and hang myself with some resistance bands I have for exercising, and take a load of pills in the forest, and I was going to do that. I fell asleep and I didn't do that. I told Phil, who phoned up my GP, I think, and then I got a phone call one morning, January the 9th or the 10th, and a chap was assessing my mental health, my mental state, and he was very close to, I think, committing me, really. But I assured him that I was not going to kill myself, and that I had changed my mind, which was half true, and that I was going to detox the drink for the next week and gradually stop, and that happened. I made it to January the 17th, and my last drink was January the 17th, the evening. I had a watered down glass of wine and some Valium, and I stayed up the whole night through to January the 18th, shaking so bad. I had really damaged my nervous system, and my body. Really damaged it. I mean, I can take a lot of drink, but I was close to fucking my nervous system up, so call it a breakdown. Call it an alcoholic breakdown. For about a week I couldn't walk properly. I had to sort of almost relearn how to walk, which sounds crazy, and it was, but I started gradually to just get out and walk to the shop, and I was putting one foot in front of the other. And the marvellous thing with alcohol in your liver, especially, not the marvellous thing with alcohol, there's not very much marvellous things about alcohol. Your liver can handle a good whack. There's lots of organs, if they fail, you're fucked, but luckily your liver can repair, and it did. And my nervous system repaired, I could walk again. I had this twitch and this shake really bad, and that went away after about a week. I went back to AA to see some meetings, and it was quite, it was like I'd found God again. I was just, you get something, and this will be different from different alcoholics, you get something called moments of clarity, usually when you're on the drink or just coming off the drink, and it's a huge, amazing feeling that everything's so clear, your brain's working, everything's working. And for me, I usually get that 2 or 3 days after stopping a heavy bout of drinking, and that's what happened here. I'd gone to the point of, killing myself with booze, stopped, and everything felt wonderful again. I felt positive. I thought, right, I can do this. I'm still completely broken, but my head wanted to live, and that was a huge step. I applied for benefit. I had to, because I'd spent December to January, just spent all my last wage on the previous job that had all gone. So I needed to get money and try and pick things up again, and I was quite positive about things until I think it was spring 2018 came in, and the hemorrhoids were bad, and also I get something called folliculitis in my skin where I itch a lot, and that had flared up again badly, and I'd been waiting to see the dermatologist about this for nearly a year, and I had to do something about the hemorrhoids. I was bleeding every day, so I'm going to leave this part there, and then the final part will just be me going through the operation and where I am today and what I plan to do next.